friend, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new around here, well, my name is Mac and I'm a leadership coach, but I actually work specifically with first-time team managers and helping them to become effective leaders. Now, before I jump into today's content, I want to let you know that I'm actually hosting a free masterclass entitled How to Become a Confident, Competent, and Effective Leader. And so if that sounds like an interesting topic for you, definitely check out the link in the description box below to get yourself registered, because I will be doing it live and I do not want you to miss it. So I wanted to do this video today because one of the discussions that I seem to have quite a bit with managers is this concept of like making a difference in your role. Like, so many times I jump off calls with managers and one of the last things they'll say is like, Mac, at the end of the day, I just want to feel like I'm actually making a difference. And I totally understand that. As somebody that is personally driven by being able to make an impact in other people's lives, I can totally understand why you would want to feel like you're putting in all this energy and blood, sweat, and tears and effort into it, and that it actually matters, right? You want to feel like the work that you're doing actually matters. So that makes perfect sense to me that you want to know whether or not you're making a difference or not. One of the things that I do find so interesting about this, though, is that the people that are making the most difference don't even realize it because they're so self-aware that you don't even realize you're already making a difference. The other thing that I think is also interesting is that I think it's so subjective because it all has to do with the way that you define success, right? However you have defined making a difference is how you'll know if you're making a difference. You know what I mean? And so it's so subjective. But what I will say to that point of the fact that it's so personal to you is that the best way to gauge that would be to go back to what made you say yes in the first place. So when you think back in history around your yes, and when you said yes to this role, what was the difference that you wanted to make at that time? Like, when you said yes to that role, what did you envision in your mind would be that difference? And are you living that through? Because if you are, then that's great. That means you're making the difference that you want to. And if you're not, then maybe that just means you need to make some adjustments to what you're doing. Or it could be that you're not in the right place. Who knows, right? But I think going back to that first place of where you said yes would probably be a really good indicator as to whether or not you're truly making that difference that you want to. Now, besides that personal aspect of things, I do think that there are some more obvious signs that you're truly making a difference as a manager. And so I want to discuss that and maybe some other not so obvious signs that you're making a difference. So I would say the number one kind of obvious sign that you're truly making a difference in your role is if your team is meeting or exceeding your expectations, which I believe is probably the number one sign of a truly effective leader that's honestly making a difference, is when their team is doing the thing that they're being paid to do. And that honestly is just an indication that you as a people manager, you're doing a great job of setting some clear goals, setting clear expectations, and that you're actually providing the adequate and proper training to your people so that they can do the things that they're being paid to do. So I think that's definitely the number one obvious sign that you're truly making a difference in your role. The second most obvious sign that you're making a difference as a manager is that your team is motivated and engaged to do the work that they're doing. And I would say, to add to that, not only are they excited to do the work, but they're coming up with creative solutions to solve some of the everyday problems that exist in a business. And then the third indicator that you're truly making a difference in your role as a manager is if you are actually receiving feedback from both your team as well as your manager. Now, I want to make something very clear here. I am not talking about just receiving a "you're great" thumbs up type of feedback. I'm talking about if you are receiving critical and useful feedback from your team as well as your manager, that is an indication that you are doing a fantastic job. I know for me, I viewed it as an absolute win when my team called me out for things, right? Because honestly, it helped. Well, I'm just going to say it helped me. I wouldn't be here today if my people didn't feel comfortable enough to say, hey, Mac, you screwed the pooch on this one, or hey, Mac, your management style needs a lot of work in this area. If they didn't do those things, I wouldn't have been aware of the places where I was lacking, and I wouldn't have known to improve those areas because nobody would have been telling me, right? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so if no one's telling you, then you just continue doing the same thing. And so I found it to be extremely helpful that my team was actually telling me where I was screwing up and that they felt comfortable enough to do that. That meant that I was creating a healthy environment where people felt comfortable to surface their concerns. And more to that, like if your manager is giving you feedback, that's another win under your belt, because that means that your manager cares enough about you and your future to give you the information that you need so that you can do better. So I would say those are like the 3 more obvious signs that you're truly making a difference in your role. So now what I want to do is switch over into talking about some kind of less obvious signs that you're truly making a difference in your role. And one of which is around the fact that I know so many of you are in these roles and don't necessarily look like what the ideal of management is. You know what I mean? I know I've had a lot of sidebar private conversations with so many of you where you've expressed to me that like, Mac, I'm like the only one in the room. And so, I think I talked about that. No, I know I definitely talked about this in a video right here where I talked about the fact that that was a challenge for me. And even to this day, there's so many people talking about leadership that look nothing like me. I mean, a lot of them are either men or not even like women of color talking about leadership. And so I do understand that that in itself is a challenge. But with every challenge also comes a lot of good things, right? And so if you're in the role and you don't look like that quote unquote ideal, then know that you're making an impact because of the fact that you're just in that role right now. You know what I mean? You're making an impact because you are widening the scope of what managers look like. That's a huge deal. And actually something that I feel is like underrated because it's so important. It's so important for others to see that someone like us can be in the role, because that means for them, they're more likely to strive for that role if they think that they might one day have the opportunity to be in that role. So know that you're making a difference just by virtue of being in the role itself. The second kind of less obvious sign that you're truly making a difference in your role is that, well, first of all, I'll say this, so many of you are actively searching out how you can be a positive disruptor in your role, which is a big deal. Because think about it, when you do the research, or even just like talking to our parents and grandparents, right? You know that they'll talk about the fact that when they were working in that environment, they basically just had to be thankful that they even had a job. And so a lot of them had to like put up with a whole lot in order to be able to provide for their families, right? And that was created by who? Those types of environments were created by managers. Let's be real. Whoever was leading the charge at the time. And so the fact that you are actively searching out how you can be a positive disruptor means that you are bringing with you a sense of empathy and humanity to these roles that did not exist before, which is a sign that you're making a difference, because more and more people are actually enjoying the work environments that they're in. Now, yes, I know that there are a lot of toxic environments out there. I am not denying that. I'm not denying that fact. However, there have been significant shifts to the way that people see leadership, to the way that people actually interact with their team members that did not exist before. And that's because of people like you, like I said, who are actively searching out how you can be more of a positive influence to the people that you are leading on a daily basis. So all this to say, between the obvious signs that you're making a difference, the not so obvious signs, and whatever it is that you personally wanted to have an impact on, I'm pretty sure that you're making a difference. Maybe not to the extent that you would like to, just depending on where you're at, but I'm pretty sure that you're making a difference. Now, if you are constantly putting out fires, and if your team isn't meeting expectations, and if your team doesn't currently respect you and all those things, and yeah, sure, you're probably not making the impact that you would like to in the way that you would like, but those are things that we can always tweak and adapt your approach so that you're actually making the difference that you want to make. And to that point, I want to remind you about that free masterclass that I'm hosting, because I'm going to be talking about this specifically, about how you can truly make an impact in your role and make that difference you want to make through becoming a confident, competent, and truly effective team leader. So if you're interested in that, or if you're feeling like I need to switch around what I'm doing so that I can be that difference I want to be, then definitely get registered for that my free masterclass, because like I said, I'm doing it live and I would hate for you to miss it. So get registered by using the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that it spoke to you in some way and inspired you. And if it did, do give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe too, so you don't miss out on any other content that I share on this platform every single week. Thanks so much for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next one.